What is confession and how should we practice this and what do we do with this? And what we're going to do is look at confession primarily through the lens of two biblical authors, David, not in Psalm 51, but in Psalm 32, and the Apostle John in 1 John chapter 1. So we want to start with this. What does it mean? What does the Bible mean when it uses the term confession? There's two Greek words that are very closely related. They're very interesting. One is homologeo. If you want to say that, it's kind of fun. Homologeo. Okay, so this comes from two kinds of a compound of two words. The word for same, homo, the same. And then the noun, logos. And if you're familiar at all with John chapter 1, verse 1, in the beginning was the logos. In the beginning was the what? The word. So this verb means, adjective for same, word. So very rigidly, you might mean that this says to give the same word, which is why oftentimes it's translated as acknowledge or agree. And of course, that begs the question, agree with whom? Well, namely, agree with God. To confess is to say the same thing that God says. In other words, to confess is to face reality. To look reality right in the face and say, I'm not going to pretend it's something other than what's right in front of me. I'm going to agree with what is, not with what I wish was. This is a profound point. Because much of the human condition, I think, can be summarized as just a simple refusal to face the truth. Truth is something that humans really need, and we are exceptional at avoiding. It's the reason why some people, for example, will not look at their spending practices with their money. Have you ever seen this? A person will kind of feel like, oh my gosh, we don't have enough money, and like we just are, we're having trouble and reconciling things in the accounts. And you're like, well, here's a suggestion. Go through month by month and track every single purchase that you make. And for some people, that simple suggestion, it's like put it on a piece of paper, every single thing. Here's where I spent money. Here's how much money I spent. Here's what I spent it on. Every single dollar. And then you'll have a pretty accurate picture of where your money's going. Now, many people, they squirm with the simple suggestion. Now, why is that? Because they don't want to see where their money's going. And so we would rather then, if that's the case, we would rather just not face reality. We'd rather embrace a cognitive dissonance. We'd rather refuse to look at the facts of our spending. This is confession. The first point of confession, very simple but profound point. In order to confess something, you have to know what it is. You have to face reality. Then the other word that's used in the New Testament for confess, very close. So the first one, homologeo, yes? The second one, exomologeo. You can say that. Exomologeo. It's kind of fun to say. I said that with Kelsey. She's like, wow, that's really kind of fun. Exomologeo. So it's the same word, but it has a preposition on the front of it, and the preposition is ex. Anyone know what that means? Out. Like exoskeleton. Exomologeo. So the added idea of speaking this word out loud. Right? Very simple principle. So homologeo, to say the same thing. Exomologeo, to make sure that you understand. To say it out loud. Confession is when you face reality and you agree with God's assessment of you. And then you articulate it clearly so that you can't hide from it. Let me ask if you've ever seen this in your own life. You've got an inkling somewhere in your mind that all is not right. But you're able to hide from it within your own mind. Have you ever seen this? You're able to kind of hide. Sometimes it's like, usually at like 3 a.m., it's really loud, but it's all still in your head. And you can kind of avoid it, particularly in the waking hours when you can busy yourself with a whole bunch of other tasks. You can avoid it. Now, what happens when you tell another human being and you speak it out loud? Now you can't hide from it, because now it's outside of you. Now it has being and reality and shape and force outside of you. And you can't pretend like it's not there because your friend heard you say it. Right? It's like toothpaste. This is why we should be careful with our words, by the way. As soon as you say something out loud, it's like toothpaste. It will not go back in the tube. And there's a bad thing to that, right? When you say something that deeply wounds somebody, you can try to go back later and patch that up. You can try to go back later and say, no, I didn't really mean that. I shouldn't have said that. Well, but you did say it. And the toothpaste doesn't go back in the tube. So be careful how you speak to one another. Now, at the same time, there's a blessing of that reality, because it means that if you want to confess something, if you want to really face the reality of something, then you say it out loud to somebody who loves you. And all of a sudden now, you can't escape from it. And that's a good thing. Sometimes you need to articulate something out loud so that you can burn the ships, and now you have to deal with it. You can't pretend like it's not real anymore. And you have to address it.